Hello, America and people around the world. This is After Hours, and my name is Calligraphy. Today, our guests, we have King Dice and Tanjint Wiggy. Both of them are from the Juice Box. Dice, introduce yourself real fast.
Yeah, my name is King Dice. I'm the founder of juicebox.com, the dopest website that chronicles IE hip hop and lifestyle and beyond. I'm also a rapper, producer, King Dice.
And this hair is dripping right now.
Juicy.
Tanjint, tell me about yourself.
I'm Tanjint Wiggy. I'm from Juicebox, JOOSEBOXX.com, as well as West Coast Avengers, a nerdcore hip hop group. Everything from the IE, westcoastavengers.com.
All right. Now, it's not the first episode. We've already introduced myself. We've already introduced yourselves. We're going to get right into it.
Yeah.
All right. Cardi B.
Okay.
Mute Cardi B.
Mute Cardi B. Why?
Yeah. Because, bruh, like, see, as a feminist, I'm a firm believer that what is good for the goose is good for the gander. And if people out here drugging the opposite sex is taking advantage of them financially or sexually, they need to be held accountable.
I respect that.
So I read this article in New York Magazine about the women that I'm assuming, I actually haven't even seen the Cardi article. I'm assuming she's responding to the article I read, whereas there was this famous group of women, like it was a huge case over the last few years. I think it was in Vegas. I think it took place over several cities. It might have been Atlantic City, Vegas, a bunch of places.
But a group.
And it was a group of women, and one of them was an older white woman, one of them was a younger Asian woman, and they were kind of the ringleaders of this situation where, you know, they do the champagne room kind of thing, but they would drug the dudes and get them to run up their credit cards, and they would only target high-end guys, and they did it with like Wall Street guys, and so they kind of had this whole.
So it's okay if it's fuck the banks?
They kind of had this whole idea that it was okay because these are scumbaggy guys, and when you read their story, you kind of see how everything gets blurry for them.
Whoa,
So
they're just rich people. The rich people. Are you punishing the rich people?
Sometimes.
Rachel Maddow.
Look, so the Cardi B thing, she was on Instagram and she's like, "Oh, I had it hard. Nothing was ever handed to me." And she says like, "No one was with me like shooting in the gym." Essentially, is what she's saying. Like you weren't with me when I had to strip in a club. You weren't with me when I had to drug people and steal their money. So she admitted to doing it. That's what happened. That's what she's talking about.
Yeah, that's the same thing in the
drugged
article.
up
I'll send it to you guys.
I've only seen the clickbait. So I'm coming in here with an uninformed opinion. I'm
Yeah.
asking y'all's for knowledge.
Yeah, so that's what she was saying. And I think that's, I mean, like, yeah, those dudes are some suckers. Like, if you go to any strip club and believe anything a stripper says, you're stupid. You're stupid as hell. Wait,
Not
can I
even
cuss
that my
on
hair
here?
looks nice.
Can I cuss on here?
Of course you can.
Oh, yeah, you're stupid as fuck. You're stupid as fuck, straight up, if you believe that stupid shit.
Yeah.
But, like, for me, it's just a matter of principle. Like,
Wait. So I just have a question though. So if Cardi said like, "Yo, like your Jerry curls are dripping right now," like I'm digging the drip.
She would definitely say that.
Yeah.
But is she lying then?
Nah, you know what I'm saying? It's a thin line. It's a thin line. It's a thin line. But look, though, let us not forget, man, Rick Ross lost whole endorsements over just saying Molly in her drink and she didn't even know it.
Right.
Who knows if he did it or not?
Well, the follow-up bar is went home and had fun with that.
She didn't even know it. But it was just
Oh.
a bar is my point. It was just a bar. We don't know if he actually did that.
Right.
Maybe he was just trying to be clever. He thought it was dope.
Wow.
She actually drugged dudes and stole their money. Like,
Right. So if you, long story short, you read that article. One of the ringleaders ratted out the rest of them, and so she didn't do any jail time, and a few of them did.
Yo, the
so-
Michael Cohen excuse don't work though. I mean, you can't sit here and just snitch out your homies and just move forward. And be like, oh, it's all good. It's all good. You just snitch your motherfuckers out.
we either have to mute Cardi B, hold her accountable, or we got to admit as a society that there is a huge double standard and throw away the entire feminist movement.
Oh my goodness! I'm not even.
Damn.
They have to.
I mean, that went from like I'm
shit
with
is
you
a-
to like we just jumping off the cliff.
Well,
It's
as
a
long as we're
package
jumping
deal.
off cliffs, I think in my opinion, it's a fool's errand to hold the artists that you enjoy art of personally accountable for things. It's like every artist has done something that you wouldn't stand by.
So we're able to separate the artist from the music. So I could go back to listening to R. Kelly again.
I mean,
I never stopped.
it's gonna be on a person. It's gonna be a person by person basis, but that's just how I think of it.
I mean, his mind was telling him yes, and his body was telling him yes.
You find me a
women that
more
love all the
inspirational
women.
song than I Believe I Could Fly, and I'll stop listening to R. Kelly. But that shit is my mantra.
But I mean, can you still listen to Michael Jackson with Pretty Young Dang?
I'm not muting any artist.
He's a Virgo. Oh, how could a Virgo on Virgo violence? It's gotta stop. No.
They don't really care about us.
This guy.
Yo.
Just keep it in the closet, man.
What else you got, Khalid?
And then Bridget. Yo, the midget with the pie was when I was like, this boy is messed up. On the Trapped in the Closet, it's like chapter 32 and a half. Like second score. It's too much. It's way too much.
Did you guys listen to his "I Admitted I Did It" song?
What?
I admitted I did.
The R. Kelly song.
No, I have
like
not heard this
It's
song.
like a 20-minute song where he responds to everything. It's incredible. Like it's a
don't
really
have-
good song, and it's incredible to see him having like a nervous breakdown live in front of you.
I don't have 20 minutes for R. Kelly.
It's
That's just 100, bro. I don't
okay, maybe
have
it's
I
12
got enough
minutes.
for the remix to Ignition, but after
it's-
that, we good.
It's incredible.
facts.
All right. Moving forward. So, for the people who are watching us, we are all members of the Inland Empire. We're all residing in San Bernardino or Riverside County.
Yeah.
And we want to talk a little bit about like the local scene. We want to talk a little bit about like the people who are around us. So, how would you guys say like the local hip hop scene is?
Okay.
Ooh,
I think
Tanjint, you got it first.
I think I could talk about this in a way that's how do I put this that anybody can understand. I don't have
Because
to-
you got gray hairs on it. So you just like, I've been here, I've seen it.
I have some gray hairs on it, and but this doesn't have to be so inside baseball. Basically, like a lot of cities that are not famous, that are not top 50 metropolitan, economic, centers. We have a artistic community of a lot of independent artists, and there's a big desire to be recognized in the larger music scene, not just locally. So that's kind of the dynamic here, just like it is in many, many hundreds and maybe thousands of cities, all over America. That said, you see, as a result of that, you see a lot of people lamenting things that I think are actually bigger than any one person's problem. People snipe at each other in the indie scene at times, and I hear this happens in other cities too, that it's like, oh, everything would be good here, people just supported each other. Everything would be good here, we just support each other. I was thinking about it. I bet you LA has haters. I bet you Chicago has haters. It's not that they don't have haters, it's that those are such populous centers that there's enough people that do coalesce to make something pop off. And so it's like, whereas in the Inland Empire, the nature of the socioeconomic underlying of the area is people move away.
You're saying a lot of big 3-syllable words right now.
Well, a lot of people move away. Typically, it's kind of rare for people to stay productive and stay in the IE. Usually, the children, it's kind of almost not a retirement. It's a place where people like to raise their kids, and the kids go to LA, and the kids go.
It's
to
a
New
bedrock
York.
community. It's a bedrock community. I feel you on that.
Right. So there's these elements to it. These are no one's individual's fault, and I wouldn't even blame hater artists. We don't have enough venues. We don't have enough, socioeconomic infrastructure to have the kind of indie art scene that people dream of, and that's no one's fault.
I agree with you completely on that.
I mean, our art scene, I think, is super dope, in my opinion.
Yes.
My views on the art scene as a whole is, if you have something negative to say, I don't fuck with you, straight up. I mean, I remember a time when nobody was proud to rep the IE. Nobody was proud. Like, I'm from Reno Valley, California, and there was a time when it was embarrassing to say you're from Reno Valley. But from the beginning, I've always repped that because that's where I grew up. So if you got anything negative to say, I don't fuck with you. You're not part of my team that's building up this area, that's building up this scene. You're trying to tear it down. There's either builders or there's people that are demolishers. I'm a builder. If you're not with me, you're against me. That's how I feel about it. So I stay the fuck away from people who ain't got positive shit to say.
I am so distracted by the drip from these Jerry curls, bro.
Let that shit wash over you.
And
man.
if I could just
my
respond,
soul glows 24/7.
I wasn't, and also I wasn't
For me,
trying.
It's just Tuesday.
It's
That's all it is.
Look, and then let me clarify. I wasn't trying to endorse the negative stuff. I was just saying what I think some of the negative stuff comes from.
No,
Is that people
I
get frustrated that they want more venues, they want there to be bigger this in the festival, or they want that, and it's like we have to build that, and that's so I like to think I'm on the same page with Dyson.
Yeah.
I agree with that as well. I agree with the socioeconomic, like there's not enough venues out here.
Right.
I think it's interesting. I think especially like coming from like a hip hop perspective, everyone's asking like what's wrong with the culture, like what's wrong with like artists not necessarily getting out. I had one person that was talking to me as we had like there was a really big social media debate within like our circle of friends,
Sure.
like all of our mutual acquaintances world. And one person said like the onus is on the DJs. And I'm like, the onus is not on the DJs. Like I said, the onus is on the internet. Honestly, I think that the internet was and still is like the biggest cultural culprit that we have that
Change every business.
it negatively affects, I think, more people than people want to realize, because some people are able to get quick cash, short cash, whatever it is. I think that the internet has changed the game. Back in the day, like you wanted a Ninth Wonder beat, you wanted somebody's beat, like you had to be near them in the studio. Now you can get anybody's production, message them, hit them up. Like if they're a super producer, whatever producer, whatever their business rates are, it doesn't matter. They sit here and say, cool, man, you like this beat? This beat is X amount of dollars. You go and you purchase it, you rock the beat, you go to an engineer, you get it mixed and mastered, you go and send it to them. Maybe you don't even have to send it to the person that you bought it from. Like I bought the beat, you made your money. It doesn't matter if I record this shit and it's all messed up on its levels. It's not a representation of that person's art, or at least that's probably what I would assume that person would say. Like, their crappy recording studio is not a representation of my music. You know, a Mike Well Made It beat, you know, for example, is gonna do this. Like, you already know, like, it's not me, it's them. So I mean, I think that the internet is like the biggest thing. And someone was like, you know, like DJs used to spin artist music, and I'm like, all right, man, sure, to a point. Also, I have to buy record pools. Like, as a DJ, like, I buy record pools, I buy my friends' music, I buy music that I'm interested in to support these artists. And then everyone's like, the scene is dying, the DJs don't spin me. I'm like, yeah, man, I spent like $200 on music this month. I still got rent to pay. And then you want me to go and spend an extra $15 or $10 to support your album for one song? You can send me a file.
Easy solution.
Easy solution.
Look, this is an easy solution. Make dope shit. Make dope shit, and it sells itself.
Right.
So you're just saying that the general bar should be higher?
I mean, I think, like, if we're gonna place blame, if that's our goal with this conversation, is try to find out whose fault it is.
I don't think that there is blame. Like, if I'm gonna
Yeah,
lay
that's kind
blame
of what
on
I'm saying
anybody,
too.
I think there's
bigger
blame.
factors. Oh, okay.
There's blame on the people. It's the age of information.
Okay.
Like, you can't complain to me that, like, the IE doesn't have this, the IE doesn't have that, because if you see something lacking in our scene and you want to build it, you can. You don't know how to DJ? YouTube that shit.
Yeah.
You don't know how to make graphics? YouTube that shit. You don't know how to throw shows? YouTube that shit. You can find out how to make a fucking bomb and a souffle in 20 minutes on YouTube.
At the same time?
but can you learn how to make a bomb souffle?
Yeah.
That's a little trickier. but my thing is, why are you spending your time complaining about anything? The DJs, the producers, the rappers, the level of studio quality, whatever the issue is, if you're not down to fix it, shut the fuck up and keep moving. Because we over here building. That's what me and my squad doing. Me and my homie.
And let me
y'all my homies.
let me talk. Let me talk some specific numbers about things with Juicebox. There was a point over the last couple of years where we were actually dropping between 1 and 3 articles a week, and at the peak of that, we were getting between 4,500 and 6,000 hits per article. Right?
Organic.
Huh?
Organic.
Organic. Yeah, we're actually not really doing any paid ads. We don't really have budget. What was it? Dice, pays for the website itself, and then I do a lot of the articles as well as him, and sometimes Young Miss. And
shout out Young Miss.
Shout out Young Miss.
Absolutely. Young Miss is the
super
home
dope.
girl.
Always doing a bunch of dope stuff. Always peep her. And but that said, I imagine if everyone that had an article on Juicebox about them shared every article of Juicebox that they saw, in addition to the momentum that we had when we were dropping stuff every week, which we're trying to get back to, juicebox.com. What was it? I think it would be off the chart. So it's like there is that. But instead of complaining about it, I agree, with Dice that there's other ways to look at it. So we do Juicebox where we highlight a bunch of stuff. We take our time, and it's not just IE, but it's mainly IE. We take some time sometimes, but we do get to a lot of stuff that gets sent to us. And so there's that. We're trying to highlight people. And then Dice has also been very helpful in efforts that I've been working on with Untapped Hip Hop to make a documentary about the Inland Empire hip hop scene, not just about the scene, but about the history of it. It was just going to be about the last 5 years, but everyone involved insisted that we make it about the entire history of Inland Empire hip hop.
We're going way, way back.
And so I just want to say a couple little notes about that in terms of good news. It's like we have a history to be proud of. Like we have a awesome heritage of music in the IE that people don't even realize sometimes. I've recently got to get in contact with people from JJ Fad and Lighter Shade of Brown through this documentary stuff that we're doing. And I listened to their albums as research, preparing to speak to them. These albums sound like, in the case of JJ Fad, they are on Ruthless Records, right? That's the first, group. They're from Rialto, and Eazy-E signed them to Ruthless Records, and they were the first group to be signed to Ruthless Records. They financed NWA stuff with the success of Supersonic. And then Lighter Shade of Brown, they're from Riverside and Corona and Rubidoux area, as well as Santa Ana. And they, what was it? Their stuff sounds like that too. It sounds like a DOC album. It sounds like a 1988, 1990 like a hip hop classic. Like you can still bump these albums, and they're from Riverside, they're from San Bernardino, they're from Rialto. So it's like we have a history to be proud of, we have a present to be proud of, and we have a future to look forward to.
C4 was on the HBO Blaze battles, battling Medusa.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why everybody tries to battle C4 when they see him in public. That's why he don't want to rap no more when he sees people. Shout out C4, you still my homie. And shout out to Texas, I guess.
All right, repping Texas.
He was here. I saw him in Pomona the other night.
Oh yeah, he was over at Big Rob show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
The
so we
Showcase
really
66.
out here. We really are a community of people and friends and artists out here.
Seeing each other.
Yeah. This is a lot of fun actually.
And he's in
bringing everybody.
Texas, so
Yeah.
he's international. See for yourself. Check him out.
Yeah, see for yourself.
Facts.
All right. I think that's a pretty good little start to the hip hop shit. Unless there's something else you guys want to like.
We could go. I think we could go forever about that one. So I was editing myself.
Oh, I mean, you don't have to edit yourself for nothing.
Okay.
If we get on time, I'm gonna just cut you off. I'm just be like, we got to move on to the next segment.
This is just how I feel about it. My end all be all feeling on the subject is like, just stay out of our way. That's how I feel about it. I don't understand what the end goal is in speaking negatively about a scene that has so many people that are trying to actively build it up. I just don't understand what is the point. And to be clear, that is what the social media debates were surrounded about. Someone voiced their opinion, which is a valid opinion, and the opinion, if I'm not mistaken, was that like fuck the IE
It's
or
dead.
the IE is dead. That was their opinion. Fine. So what's the end game to say that? To get like a bunch of people to be like, yeah, fuck the IE.
You know what?
Or like, was it to like get the crowd going like, yeah, maybe we should fix it? Because if that's the point, I think you should just say, maybe we should fix it. And maybe for me, it's just a matter of like, I don't fuck with negativity. And those are my views generally on negativity. It's not for me. But I have to wonder what your motive is if that's how you are going to voice your opinion. Now, I've also heard that later on it was cleared up. I stay away from the drama, so I really don't know too much of the minor details.
Everybody patched everything up.
Oh man, I don't text
Well,
message people.
I mean, not.
I'm
not
still
the
on
other
Black
two, but
Planet.
yeah.
Yo,
And
man,
Christian Mingle.
Christian Mingle. Man, I'm on Farmers Only.
Me and my wife.
Farmers
Christian
only.
Mingle.
Yo, man, you got girls who are down to work on Farmers Only. When I say I got a hoe, she's like, I got 2 more. And I'm like, damn, you got a donkey too, baby?
Yams.
Yeah.
She got yams.
I'm trying to have me some sweet potatoes tonight.
I mean, I am the kind of person who can't help but try to think of the other side, right? And I mean, not that you guys aren't, but I mean, just the kind of nerd I am.
I'm just gonna call you a Satanist though, because you playing the devil's advocate.
my own version of devil's advocate. And a shout out to everybody
Shout out
who
to
uses
Satan.
who uses that.
Yeah,
Shout out to Satan.
devil horns.
So
I see you.
that said, the
Our
guy who
Lord.
sparked that discussion is Ace Beats, and if I'm not mistaken, he's worked
Oh
with.
man, you calling out names?
No, if I'm not mistaken,
the name.
he's worked with people like Brother Lynch Hung and other pretty big names, in addition to some IE people like Triz.
Ace has
You
a
know,
wonderful catalog. He is a wonderful
I've heard
producer.
stuff from him. He's dope.
He's very dope.
Actually, hey, I could even say this. One of my co-bandmates flaked on a battle with him, a battle that I set up. So that
Beat
that-
battle?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And I wish it would have happened because they're both dope and it would have been cool to see. Anyway, there is an argument to be made that let me say that I can see the perspective of someone like, okay, I've had some success here with bigger artists. I've had some success outside of the area with bigger artists. Why am I not someone who's hit up to be on this beat showcase or that beat showcase? Like, I get that. And so then I think, I kind of get that. Like, I get why someone could come to that conclusion, but on the other hand, it's like, to what extent are people responsible for putting themselves out there? To what extent are, kind of like we were talking about earlier, are other people, are DJs and promoters and bookers, people who run the beat showcases responsible for finding the new talent? And I think that everyone has to meet in the middle to some extent.
I agree.
Yes, everyone should open their ears, but artists ultimately need to take initiative and get themselves out there, send out your resume, send out your stuff, send out your links, be friendly, be sociable.
Which is why I blame the internet, because
You know?
everyone thinks that they're a hashtag and a tweet and
Away
a share
from
away
the
from
kind of
being
treatment they
viral.
should get, you know?
When back in the day, like I was telling somebody, I was like, yo, the promoters had to go out and hand flyers out. They had to go and support other places and bring their friends and be like, oh, it was live. Who was in the house? We were in the house. We're going to run a party tonight. And, we already got everybody coming through.
Right.
The internet makes everyone just be passive aggressive and go home at the end of the day and think that they can pick up everything. I agree. You want to learn how to do something? Sit online and learn something. You want to go find something? You have every encyclopedia in the world online available to you. But at the same time, like, the internet is a resource. The internet is not society. I mean, this always kills me when people talk shit about, talk shit on Facebook. When people are on Facebook, the thing that kills me the most is someone will say something real disrespectful, like fighting word disrespectful.
Right.
And then someone will be like, bro, the hell, like that makes you racist. And they'll say, it's
just
Facebook. Don't take it serious. I'm like, that is your name? That is your first and last name. Like, it's not even like you have
Pictures
some
of
sort
your
of
baby.
They verify it now, yeah.
like it's your first and last name.
Yeah.
It's your email address. For most people, unless like you have like 14 different email addresses, that's really you.
Yeah.
What you say is you. It's not Facebook. It is something that you said via the internet. It's a text message. If someone randomly text messaged you and says some hate speech, and then you said, man, you fucking around. It's just Samsung text.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, no, we still gonna catch hands when I see you, bro. Like, it's still fighting
Look,
words.
I don't know the gentleman that you were speaking about. But I know that when you say to what extent is the artist responsible for getting themselves out there, I think to the fullest extent. Nobody owes you shit.
That's fair. That's valid.
Like, I don't know if that's his real position, if that's how he feels.
I'm definitely extrapolating and divining from what I read. I can't read mine.
But I mean, if that is
You read mine earlier.
if it's about like I'm not getting shows, so I have an issue with the IE, that's your fault. Whoever it is, like that's your problem, bruh.
So
and you got to go out there and grind. Like I mean, if you're not at the shows, rubbing shoulders with people who can put you on a show, put you on an album, whatever, that's your fault. Like, I've done plenty of nights at a local show just so I could get an interview with an artist, not because I'm getting paid for it, not because they're getting paid for it, because I have a love for the IE, I have a love for hip hop, and I want to put you on a platform that I think could help spread awareness about you. So that shit comes with the job. That shit is part of the job.
And the Facebook message didn't help. Because the Facebook message, maybe you said like, I'll see you there, but it wasn't the interview.
Right.
Which is why the internet. It's the internet, man. I think we have to make a serious look. And like when we start talking about some politics stuff,
uniform etiquette.
we do need a uniform etiquette about how we treat the internet.
And that's why people like Curtis King and Noah and Lisa are doing a big service to the community by doing these instructional videos. It's like the more time passes, the more I realize, oh my God, it's so beneficial. Or Mescal or us, anyone who does videos where it's like, here's a gem, right? It's like the more time passes, the more I realize how necessary that is. Precisely because people are not all on the same page. You do need the Curtis Kings and the Noah Jameses. You need each area's luminaries and leaders to be like, hey guys, this is how things are done.
And to that point,
yeah.
Kurt hates social media to a certain extent because people will sometimes you have people who are trolls and he hates trolls. Sure. Like as someone who I know Kurt, like we're not like the closest of friends, but like I know that he does not like that. That's why like he does the videos in a way where like he's able to take a step back and be like, this is like what I'm going to say as a response. And like, I'm not going to engage in social media like that because like you're going to have people who are going to still do that type of behavior of like, it's just Facebook, bro. And that's draining. I think that's draining for a lot of people when like it seems like it's a constant uphill drudge to just try to like have like a message come across. Whether or not people agree with your message, whether or not it resonates with your message, that's not the point that I'm trying to make. Like that is what everyone gets. So it's anecdotal for everybody. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of these people, I think that Kurt has done a very good job. Curtis King has done an amazing job on how he has approached social media because I think that he is able to keep his sanity intact and like his demeanor and the way that he wants to be presented with people, and that when he gets to speak and gets to share his opinion, I think that he is able to do it in such a way that allows him to say what he wants to say and bow out when it's like, man, fuck all this. I'm not in the mood. I'm not in the mood to deal with you petty McPedersons who are about to just get here and just throw salt here when like there was no salt to be thrown in the first place.
I guess let me even spell this out a little bit more. Like, let me say someone who's not that close to him. I don't even know him. Like I've seen him in person maybe once, and I'm an admirer of his work. I was a little not skeptical, but kind of like, okay, why do we need this? If Tony Robbins exists, if other self-help stuff.
Well, he's trying to be Tony Robbins for the IE.
Well, exactly. That's exactly what I was coming to.
And I appreciate that.
And it took me a long time to realize that. It took me probably to the last 12 months to realize that. Probably listening to some of his last Crappy Awesome interviews, Crappy Awesome platformcollection.com. Check them out. And listening to the last couple, realizing, oh, this is a gem that I could use. And it was
Stay near the mic.
This is a gem that I could use. And not only was it well put, but it was put to me by somebody from my community. So that's why I'm listening. Like I'm listening to this episode of Crappy Awesome, a San Diego-based podcast, because there's an artist from the IE on it, right? And now I just heard something that's a valuable lesson. And I wasn't listening to Tony Robbins. I wasn't listening to the other self-help book. Curtis King came to me with it precisely because he was the one to bring it to me. And so that's what I'm saying. Like we need more of that from as many of us that feel like we have a head on our shoulders to explain to everybody else. This is how etiquette is. This is how you approach people. This is basic politeness because now there's a market for it and it's needed.
Well, here's a free gem. If you don't like somebody, unfollow their ass. Stop fucking with people you don't like. Stop fucking with negative people. Stop fucking with trolls. It makes your life a lot easier. King Dice.
And with that, we're going to take our first quick break. I'm going to ask you a question about that. So we're going to follow up on that. But we got to take our first break right now.
King Dice says.
This show is produced by Productive Culture. Productive Culture offers full-service audio production, beats, mixing, mastering, and podcast production. To get your podcast off the ground, check out productiveculture.com/podcast and tell them the After Hours show sent you. And get your first episode recorded for free.
Welcome back to After Hours. My name is Calligraphy. I have my guest with me today. I got King Dice and Tanjint Wiggy. Now, our first segment that we're going to keep running right now, we have Things I Learned the Hard Way. Things I Learned the Hard Way. We tell people life anecdotes about things that you've learned the hard way. Actually, I started off with you last time. So, Tanjint,
You started
tell
off
me.
with Tanjint last time.
Throwback to last
just
week's
playing.
episode with Noah James and Lisa James when Noah's.
Did you call her Lisa James?
I said Lisa James. I'm sorry. And what was it? A lot of things I'm not learning the right way. What was it? Noah said, "Exercise or you die," and that's true. You know, last year I
Stay near the mic.
Noah last week or in the last episode, in the first episode, said exercise or you die, and that's what I learned last year when I had perforated diverticulitis. My stomach burst within my stomach, and I had stitches and a drain and all kinds of stuff. And I was on disability for 3 months. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I had a surgery. Because I wasn't taking care of myself. You know, and I want to echo a lot of the same stuff Noah said. That stuff's incredibly important, and I see people fall prey to the pitfalls of that all the time.
Things I learned the hard way.
I feel like this is like a monologue by King Dice.
Yeah, so fuck bitches, get money.
What?
No, I'm just playing. So definitely it's a quote from Bruce Lee that I'm a huge fan of, and that's "Be like water." So when he's talking about like "Be like water," it's like an interview that you can look up. It's on all over the internet. But basically he's saying, like, you know, water is formless, but it can take many forms. It can be, you know, powerful like a tidal wave, or it can be, you know, soft like a drip. And, you know, like the perseverance of water and that type of attitude, you know, can carve through rock over time. And that's the way I approach life. You know, that's a good life philosophy. And especially in an age filled with social media, helps me to remember to like not to react to everything. And sometimes I don't have to be a part of every single thing that pisses me off. I don't have to voice my opinion on everything that makes me mad, because outside of, you know, stupid shit like social media, there's a real world that exists. And in that world, no matter what the fuck anyone else thinks, I matter, and I'm important. So yeah, be like water.
You watch Cowboy Bebop?
No, I haven't seen it. I've heard it was
What?
dope.
The first episode is about be like water. Yeah.
Oh.
You got to watch Cowboy Bebop,
Yeah,
bro.
Should I check it out?
It talks about the Bruce Lee quote and everything.
Yo, when I get me a corgi, I'm naming him Ein.
Ah,
Yeah.
I don't know what
see
the
you
fuck
with a
that
corgi.
means.
Oh, so
I haven't
uh,
seen
the
it.
corgi in Cowboy Bebop.
Oh,
Yeah.
word.
spoiler alert, it doesn't really change
There's a
anything for the show.
corgi in this cartoon.
They had like a robotic dog. He was like a super genius like corgi, so his name was Einstein.
I thought he was just a trained hacker. He's actually a robot?
He wasn't like a robot, but like he was a very smart dog. Like he was a
Right.
higher average,
Right.
higher intelligence
You're like,
dog.
now that's
you know?
organic intelligence.
Well,
It's
I
a
fuck with Afro
corgi.
Samurai.
It's a corgi, bro. Shout out to
Afro
corgi
Samurai is
owners.
dope. Watch Afro Samurai.
Afro
And
Samurai is
that.
dope.
I just feel like, you know, when being a part of the conversation. I don't know about Cowboy Bebop.
Wait, what animes? Do you guys
gotta
all
see
watch
it.
animes?
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
enough. I don't watch nearly enough of it. I've only seen a couple.
Man, y'all's gotta fuck with My Hero Academia.
I fuck with it.
Yeah,
keep hearing
Yeah, it's
about
dope.
yo,
My shit is really One Punch Man.
One Punch Man is dope.
Yeah, the satire, like that shit is lit. One Punch Man is a dope anime.
As a fun story, one time I went out to the Bay Area with this guy
Oh,
and another
yeah,
dude. We literally, like, when we weren't doing music stuff and like going on tour, passing out CDs and talking to
yeah,
folks,
yeah.
we literally just watched One Punch Man, like the entire series.
That
For
shit
like
was
one
dope.
playlist, like,
Facts.
just lit on the couch. It was like your cousin, right?
Yeah, my cousin's house, man.
He was very hospitable.
couch surfing through the Bay Area. Tour life. It's that
Dope.
tour life, man. When
Yeah.
you ain't got a major deal. That's what tour life is like.
Couch surfing.
Couch surfing.
Yep. All right. So, I mean, I feel like at least as minorities here, we're probably all on like the not Trump team.
Yeah.
I mean, but
Facts.
if you do like voice your
Facts.
opinion now, like we can,
Sure.
we're open for political opinions and
Fuck
dissent.
Donald Trump.
I feel it. I feel
No,
it.
I don't even really listen to YG like that.
I don't listen to YG
I
like
like
that
T-Song
either.
though.
Today, the president announced, or the education department announced that they are cutting the Special Olympics funds. You know, and so it's just like this is
Fucked up.
another one of those things. I just want to be like, people, for everybody who said there's no difference between the parties, everybody who said, you know, oh, Hillary would be no better. Like, okay, yeah, she was going to cut the Special Olympics. You're absolutely right, you dumbass. You know, like, nah, like it's horrific what has happened. You know, it's preposterous.
Do you guys have things that you guys care about for the 2020 election?
Of course.
I want to hear them.
So the things that matter to me are prison reform. That's super important. And just recently, I found out that there's this new wave about reparations.
People have been talking hella
and I'm
crazy about
all for
reparations.
You guys, anyone would read Ta-Nehisi Coates' 30-page article in The Atlantic from 2014, the case for reparations?
Hell no. As soon as you
No.
said 30 pages.
It's fantastic. You'd love it.
No, it might be dope, but I ain't got 30 pages for him.
Make sure you stay by the mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, and people will disagree with me, but to me, the gist of Ta-Nehisi Coates' article on reparations from 2014 from The Atlantic, which I think is a big part of what sparked the discussion in recent years, to me, a big part of what he's saying is he's responding to the argument of when people reject reparations on the basis of, oh, how do you trace that? Oh, how do you trace that? We're too far gone. We're too far gone. Ta-Nehisi Coates explains that even if you weren't going to believe the evidence of actual slave records, which you can find, he said you could look at redlining, which only ended in the late 60s because of the Civil Rights Act. And redlining is when they wouldn't allow people in minority areas to get a fair mortgage.
Well,
And so
I mean, it's even deeper than that. The FHA
it does go deeper.
The FHA is deeper than that because
Yes.
they were trying to make sure they were forcing segregation, so they were purposely making slums and making like higher price communities for white.
And so he was saying those are relatively recent city maps that have the red lines that literally show this is the area we're oppressing, like this is the area we're discriminating against and not allowing to get a fair mortgage.
I mean, grapes of wrath. That's straight up grapes of wrath.
Right. And so Ta-Nehisi Coates is saying there should be no argument of we can't trace it. Oh, how do you figure that out? This is how you figure it out. So even poor white people who lived in these red line areas would be among the people who benefited from the kind of reparations he's talking about. Poor people of any kind that lived in these areas that were racially discriminated against for getting fair mortgages and being able to like build healthy communities. That would be like step one of like this is who you give reparations to, and that's recent stuff. Because
I think that's a different conversation though. That's not what I'm talking. When I say reparations, I mean reparations for slavery. That's exactly what I mean. So if you lived in this red line area, that's cool. But like, if you're
that's all
white
over the
and,
country.
and your family wasn't a slave, you shouldn't get reparations. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I mean, that's why it's 30 pages. I mean, I didn't do it justice. I mean, he does tie it all into that.
But I mean, there's a few candidates that have like reparation-esque type ideas. Kamala Harris talks about some bullshit, and Bernie Sanders also talks about some bullshit.
By bullshit, do you mean you don't fuck with it, or by bullshit you mean like it's just like their statement? It's just some bullshit.
I mean, it's
basically
basically
Joaquin Castro's actually endorsed it, right?
I'm not sure about him.
Julian Castro.
But I know that they're talking about basically policy ideas that they think make up for reparations, but they help everyone. And if it helps everyone, it's not reparation because they wasn't with us shooting in the gym. Like they wasn't with us picking cotton. They wasn't with like if your ancestors weren't slaves, you should not get reparations. Okay. And I don't care how you figure it out, but when there's a will, there's a way. I know that for sure. And if Native Americans are getting casinos and land and the shit that they were promised, the country needs to make good on their promises, no matter how late it is.
Yeah,
and we've done reparations for like the Japanese. We did reparations for World War II.
And on a state basis, there's been a lot of reparations, like the Tuskegee experiments, like the state of I think Alabama, or where's Tuskegee at? And the state actually ultimately reimbursed those families after all that lawsuit stuff came out. You know, and so it's like there's precedent for it. It is able to be done. I think that was again, it's a 30-page article, but what I was getting out of that partly is that he's saying that all this is traceable. Right. That there's lots of ways that you could look at city records and municipal records and government records and find all kinds of legit ways to actually administer reparations to the
Mormons
people
got a
who
bunch
are
of
harmed.
records.
You know?
They got a bunch of genealogy information. Yeah. All these websites, 23andMe, all these fucking.
But it's records.
Those joints that help you trace your family tree. Mm-hmm. Back when we were doing it, it was all fun. But now, like, we have a real use for it. Like, we can use that as information to help track who needs to get reparations. But I definitely think reparations is a topic that I think is important.
Oh, I have like
when thinking of a candidate.
My pops has gotten like birth records and family records. I can trace my slavery back. Wow. I know where my slave roots come from. I'm not doing 23andMe. I don't want to know any of that type of shit.
Wow. Facts.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure how you guys feel about it, but I don't fuck with 23andMe. Any sort of like giving my DNA out like that. I mean, honestly,
because they give it to the licensed product that they could sell to Facebook and stuff?
No, not even about that. Like I'm sure that there's actually a concern to be voiced, but like that's not the voice that I concern. My thing is that like a lot of people go and do those types of things. And they're like, oh, well, I'm like 25% Welsh. Like I want to learn Welsh history. My history started as a slave. As an American, my history started as a slave.
Your American history.
My African history, sure, but they stripped me of that. And then going back to that, I'm like, for me, it's opening up a wound that I personally just don't want to have opened up.
That's deep.
Yeah, like, for me, I definitely agree. I share that some of those same sentiments. For me, it's not that it's like opening a wound, but if you know that you can trace your family's history back to slavery, when I find out that I have 10% Dutch, all that means is some Dutch motherfucker a long time ago raped my ancestors, and I don't give a fuck about
or
that.
Even on that same point, like that you're like 25% Kenyan and 25% Nigerian, and they're still taking studs and making them have sex and forcing them to have sex. Like finding out that I'm part Nigerian and part any country or whatever it is from the continent of Africa, that doesn't make me feel like I'm part of these cultures. I'm not this culture. I am an American slave. Like that is, I am not a slave by any means. I am a very like franchised young man. But like my history, that is my history. I come from American slavery.
Right.
So like that is where my history starts. And learning what country of origin I came from doesn't give me any sort of solace about like the type of person that I am. I know who the fuck I am.
Right.
So like for me, learning all that type of information, like to me, it doesn't add to the conversation. It doesn't add to the conversation. It doesn't make me walk up and sit here and say like, I'm gonna go and learn this. I'm not gonna learn Swahili if I found out something. Like none of that shit matters to me. Like
I disagree. Me personally, I mean, I think it connects us to the motherland. Like there's a sense of pride that comes with knowing where you're from. Like I grew up on a block where I had a bunch of super cool Mexican homies, and like I'd go to their house and they had like dope traditions, like, you know, making tamales at Christmas and shit. And I long for that. You know what I'm saying? It'd be dope to know some of my traditions or ancestral traditions. It'd be dope to know some of those things. I don't like want to not know, but for that reason, I just think it's kind of whack to just like remind yourself that this happened in your history. I don't really see a purpose in that, but that's just me.
I think we agree on the same part, but we feel about it in different ways.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, that's so deep. I mean, that's how people are feeling about movies lately. I was like, we don't want to see another movie about people of color getting beaten and getting enslaved and getting murdered. It's like, that's what people want to see. Oh, let's just see people of color horror movie or people of color comedy. You know, like,
well, I mean, it's because Matt Damon always comes through as the white guy that saves us. I mean, like, I don't want to watch 12 Years a Slave and be like, are they hurting you? And then 20 minutes later be like, yo, him, this one, just this one, not the rest of them, just this one. He's with me.
Yeah.
And then roll credits. Silent black screen. That shit's got me more fucked up than anything. That's actually the worst part. Like, the worst part is like, you know, like there are stories about like people who have done good things. And I don't think that as a society, especially like as African Americans or any minority, should look past the fact that without the majority or a subset of the majority culture, that like certain pieces of legislation would be passed. I mean, like black people are 12%. There's no way that like, even if every black person voted in unison, that the black community can change the vote of America. We do have this with white allies. We do have this with ethnic allies across the spectrum, like everybody across the spectrum. Like, so I don't like when I have movies where it's just like, oh, Matt Damon or pretty Bradley Cooper or whatever, insert pretty white person here comes in and like fixes the day about these things, where I'm like, you know, there is a large cultural movement, the suffrage movement for women, or like the anti-slavery movement, all of these movements, the emancipation movement, all of these things happened because lots of other people were also a part of this. Right. It wasn't, so when we have all of these people where it just seems like, oh, there was one person, I'm like, no, he is not some sort of savior. He is not above the fact that he was one person in a movement.
Right.
Like,
I honestly don't give a fuck about any of that shit. Like,
but I also think that, like, I mean, I agree with you on that. I also don't care in the movie world where like they have a character, because it's a movie.
No, for me, it's my issue with slave movies is just that there's way more to black history, even African American history, than slavery. Like, and I think it has a lot of people brainwashed thinking that that's where our history starts, and it's not. It's not even where.
Well, that's where Hollywood acts like it starts, stops, and ends.
Where y'all get peanut butter from?
Even more than the bullshit you learn every February. Like, there's so many more dope stories to be told, and Hollywood has this fascination with looking back at their mistakes, or looking back at America's mistakes and travesties, and kind of like looking in awe.
Constantly
and that shit's
processing
weird.
guilt.
Yeah,
well, because it's a shame culture, and I think that it's easy to shame people. Like, it's hard to make pride movies. No one's making a movie about like Thomas Edison saying like, I tried 1,000 different ways of making the light bulb, and him just sitting in the booth all day. Like, that's not like an empowering story. And I don't think that, like, I mean, it should be an empowering story, but I don't think that like Hollywood thinks that that's an empowering story. And I think that
who's it empowering? You feel what I'm saying? Like, these slave movies, who do they empower?
White people who feel like they're social justice
it's
warriors.
It's just a guilt processing thing at this point, because we've seen it so much, which is kind of what I was getting at it initially. One of the things that I keep thinking about, we've talked about this a lot, is just as far as issues from 2020, just procedural reform. Like, you know, people have all these ambitious plans, whether it be Bernie or Kamala, and how are you going to pass that stuff if you don't have a progressive Senate? And the reality is we're not. That's why it's hilarious that people are debating about the finer points of like, oh, a Medicare for all buy-in versus a single payer. Dude, we might get the buy-in at best, depending on where we could get the Senate in this next year. Like, people need to be real about that. Like these a few Senate races in Ohio and a couple other places are going to determine what can be done by the next president, period. And so that's why I like that Pete Buttigieg is saying, I'll pack the court. I'll pack the Supreme Court. I'll cancel out the justices that they stole. I'll encourage the Senate Majority Leader, if we could get one, to end the 60-vote threshold for the filibuster. You're like, these are the things you need to actually pass anything. If you don't do any of that, then none of these Bernie pie in the sky dreams, or Bernie, a lovely ideal dreams, which I like too, but they're pie in the sky if you can't pass them in the Senate.
I agree with you with that. I'm not necessarily sure how I feel about the filibuster. I think that 2/3 majority should happen for the most part. Like, I don't think that with the bicameral system that us turning into 51 vote wins is necessarily the best way for us to go
It's not
forward.
the best, but we've got to fire with fire, in my opinion.
But at that point, it's just going to be a constant switching. I mean, a lot of times, like, these votes take time to happen. So, I mean, it becomes a ping pong game. A 2/3 majority, or at least a 60-vote majority, means that there is, with a bicameral system the way that it is. I mean, I think I would like to see some sort of electoral college reforms.
That'd be amazing.
Because I think that it shouldn't be winner take all. I think that would give a viable third party option, because they would allow them to take counties and areas where like they would be able to stand up.
Okay.
And with having a third party candidate not be able to lose an election because for like whatever party, because like, oh, they won this one state, like they took Ohio, so now like the electoral college is fucked. But they're able to take a few counties, so they're able to chip away at a few points. Then they're able to say, like, these ideas actually have a foothold. I mean, I think that's a big one. I think that getting money out of politics, ending Citizens United and taking the money out is paramount. Like,
Is anybody running on these platforms?
They talk about it loosely about getting money out of politics, but I mean, I don't think that it's a big thing. For me, the thing that I want to see that I think is something that will get bipartisan support that I think we should look for is making post offices do public banking and ending the check to cash industry or reforming it. Those are my two big things, because those things disproportionately hit minorities, but they also hit poor people of all spectrum. You shouldn't have to pay 300% to get your paycheck a couple days early for a medical expense.
Right.
Like, here's $1, you owe me $3. And then these people are stuck in cycles of debt. And then you have places that are food deserts and economic deserts where there's not basic banking for them. Right. So then they go and get a fucking rush card. And yeah, Russ Williams, go fuck yourself right now. But fuck a rush card. You shouldn't have to pay to get your own money. You worked, you got a paycheck, get your money and use it for whatever it is. You shouldn't have to pay a fee on that. Like, basic things. Like, you should be able to, if you overdraft, sure, whatever. Like, I get it. Like, I think that there should be plenty of banking reforms. But if you overdraft, we'll cross that bridge, and maybe there's a rule right there. But like, you shouldn't have to pay 10% on your paycheck that you just got, that you already pay taxes to, because there's not a bank, and the only way that you can pay rent is to go to this check to cash place, or this place that's going to just cash you out on your paycheck and be like, sign it off, and like, boom, like, I'm gonna just tax you again. Why are we double taxing people? Like,
wait, people do that?
Yeah, bro. It's a big industry, and Democrats are behind it too. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is for like the check to cash.
The only people who've tried to reform it are also Democrats.
But it sounds to me like the issue is not that; it's an educational issue. Like, to me, that's the dumbest shit I ever heard. I've never heard of this shit, but if you're doing that, that's dumb as fuck.
Well, in California, like, even like poor parts of California are still so much more economically developed than other places are that they don't have options. So like, that is their option.
I don't understand. Maybe you can explain it to me. What do you mean?
What I'm saying is that,
like, why can't someone just, okay, so I do a job.
Yep.
I get my check.
Yep.
It goes to my bank account.
Well,
why is that not what everyone's
What
doing?
bank are you going to?
I have a few different banks.
Yeah, but I mean, you live in town
Let's
X.
say a black bank based in LA.
Yeah, see, based in LA is already where the problem is in this argument.
Why?
You go, because there's plenty of banks in LA. You go to like a rural town, there's not a bank. Like, some of these people don't have cars, so like they're able to walk and commute or like take public transit.
Vulnerable to predators, to financial, economic predators.
The socioeconomics of the areas stop them from even being able to use a bank. They don't have banks.
Services.
They don't have banking services. They work in cash.
So whatever
Wait,
high
but
tax.
you can have an online bank.
That's true.
I mean,
They get your shit direct deposit.
But same thing. I mean,
like, the fact that someone's going to like some sketchy
But also
check
people-
cashing place.
This is how desperate people are.
But also, not everyone has cell phones. Like, I mean, cell phones shouldn't be like a necessary part in our society to a certain degree because, like, it is discriminatory to poor people or people who don't necessarily have the funds for that. Or, like, maybe they have like a basic phone without a camera on it,
Right.
and like they have the cheapest of cheap phones, and they have Cricket wireless.
But
Shout
I
out
mean,
to
you just get a
Cricket.
direct deposit straight to your account.
Not every place does that.
And that's why there's a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Yeah.
That they're trying to gut.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Economic protections, and I understand that like that's probably not as like alluring to people as talking about reparations, but like economic protections for like vulnerable people because
Or like
while
he's
that
saying, like Dice is saying, education. You know, being
That's
being
what I'm
educated
saying.
about it.
We
Stop
should-
protecting people doing dumb shit. And I'm sorry if you're doing that because I think that's a very dumb thing to do. And I think I grew up around a place where if there's a will, there's a way. I stand by that. If you don't like your situation, there's ways to get around it. I don't know because I'm not in that situation, but I definitely know that every person in a rural town isn't in that situation. I know that shit.
I know it's not for everybody. I know it's an anecdotal. Like I don't live in all these neighborhoods out there. I
Right,
mean,
right.
like I live in the suburbs of the IE.
So I would
mean,
want to talk to someone who's in a situation and be like, yo, why are you doing that?
I mean-
if it's just a lack of education, put them up on game. Like, yo, this is how you get your money because what you're doing is dumb as hell. That shit is just dumb. And I don't think we need to like involve the government in making sure people don't do dumb shit. I think we need to educate them and make sure that the resources are available so they know. And if they decide to continue doing it,
But continuing the resources to be available, education is one part about it. And that's why like having certain structures, like I don't think the government necessarily has to regulate it, which is why like I think post offices should be able to do public banking. Because like if a bank doesn't want to go into somewhere because they say it's economically destitute, it's not worth my bottom line to put a bank here to do whatever. Everywhere has a post office. The government sets up post office. You know, the post office actually used to do basic banking, basic checking and savings.
Wow.
but I mean,
They took it out.
to me, that's moving backwards. We're
Okay.
going back to paper. We're going back to brick and mortar. Like,
but they're also trying to go, I mean,
the internet's
necessarily
the future.
that's be that as it may, I'm not disagreeing with that point, but it's about setting up infrastructure for people in certain respects because, you know, they also are trying to go back on civil rights protections. So I think progress doesn't necessarily mean that because we stopped doing something previously that it was a good idea. We should look at what things make sense for how general people live. And I think that I agree. The internet, like there's resources, there's other ways that people can get about this problem and that we should find those things. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm also still saying that there should be some sort of infrastructure and that the state can still play a part in doing things that are generally neutral and beneficial to people. Because I think that basic banking, checking and savings, like not even like loans, nothing like that. You want all that shit, you can go find it online. I agree. Like there are resources and there's certain ways and that we shouldn't necessarily have the free market be pushed out because people need something. But like you should also be able to walk up and pull your money out of somewhere and not have to have a check to cash be the only option for it because maybe you need to go out and pay for cash in something. And if there's not a bank for you to do something, like you
have
need a
debit
bank.
card.
But you'd also have to go and get that debit card from somewhere. I mean, if
They'll mail it to you.
maybe the place only wants cash.
I mean, it's the same kind of arguments that you have about voter disenfranchisement.
Go
where it's-
somewhere else.
It's not always that.
I know. I'm
just-
oversimplifying what I'm saying. Like,
But reductionist arguments is actually how the right wins a lot of this time because like
Right.
a lot of things hide in nuance. Like the devil is in the details, which is
Right.
why we should have detailed arguments because like it when you say it like that, I agree that like there's things that we could do that are probably more simple, more expedited answers. We have plenty of things that are more expeditious than where they are now. But that's also not just like the practical reality that everyone lives in. So
Right.
it's finding what people are dealing with and how we find solutions with what their day-to-day lives are actually going through.
Right. I don't think you can dispute that having banking infrastructure in your community is a good. You know?
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying.
I get-
there are ways around it. There are ways to live in today's society. There's ways to adapt.
And maybe those are more
Like,
competitive. If they're more competitive because like they're able to be leaner machines, no employees, I'm all for that because I'm not trying to take away like capitalism or anything like that. Like that's not my argument. My argument is saying that like we can find things that don't blow up our budget, don't rise our deficits crazy, but give people basic services that they need. And giving people those services is something that I think would up the general wealth and health of the community.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm not gonna disagree with you. I mean, I don't agree with you. I don't see your point of view, but I respect it.
I'm gonna go and send you a bunch of stuff on food deserts and banking deserts once we're done with this.
I mean, I know about food deserts, but I'm just saying, like a banking desert, to me, that's I just
Like, log on.
don't-
You know, it's-
But I mean,
I just don't
I see
get
what
it,
you're
bro.
saying.
Like,
Yeah,
yo,
yeah.
you don't. There's everyone could get a cell phone, fam. Like in California, here where I live, every corner in the town that I live in is giving out free Obama phones. That's what they call them. I don't know why, but that's what they're called, Obama phones. And if you're on EBT or you're under the poverty line, you get that shit
there's
for
a
free.
program that he enacted during the recovery that partly funds that.
And that shit connects to a satellite, which connects to the internet. So if you don't have internet access, that means you don't have Sky access. You don't have a Sky where you live? Like, yo, like, it's just, to me, it's just a matter of you're being lazy. It's easier to go to the liquor store that's going to charge you all these crazy fees. And fuck it, if the liquor store can sell you a service that you're stupid enough to pay for, shout out to the liquor store. We live in a capitalist country, man. This is America.
But also, like, people should be able to go and vote. We shouldn't be, like, cutting out voting centers and, like, only having one spot like they have in, like, Dodge City, Kansas, where
Now,
they took
yeah,
out.
to me, that's a different issue. Now, we're talking about voting centers. That's totally different. But if we're talking about, like, check to cash, like, you can't cash your check, you must not like money.
To a certain point, maybe.
Because if I get my check, I'm going to make that motherfucker cash. I'm going to get me some cash.
Yeah, I've seen people do amazing things to get their check.
Penny.
So another issue I think about, that's one of my top lines, always been one of my top headlines, shocker, is cannabis and cannabis reform. But I specifically been noticing that more candidates have been endorsing cannabis reparations lately, where they say not only are we going to legalize cannabis commercially, recreationally for adults, but we're also going to try to give some kind of reparations to people who were damaged by the drug war before. And so to me, that's just something to look out for, is to see more people being yes on that.
That shit's a false flag if they're not gonna like really look at ending the prison industrial complex. If they're not gonna if they're not gonna stop privatized prisons, they can talk about reparations all they want, but like Correction Corps of America or whatever, like CCA, I think that's actually what it is, Correction Corps of America, they still gonna make their money, they still gonna walk away with
Kamala
it.
Kamala Harris, she talks about
smoking weed and doing doggy style.
No, she talks about expunging records for people who have any sort of crimes on their record due to marijuana use or sale, I think. And she also talks about prison reform. So that's why I like Kamala Harris.
Booker talks a lot about those kind of criminal justice reforms.
I'm all for prison reform.
Yo, Cory Booker actually had a really wonderful conversation on Crooked Media on Pod Save America.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was a really good one. It was like a whole like hour interview about like what he would do as president if he was president.
Oh,
and a lot
the
of
bail
it,
system.
Ooh,
Kamala Harris,
see,
she's
on that.
Yeah, the bail system.
A lot of people are on that,
I think Booker also.
Yep,
I think
you're right.
Yeah.
Prison reform is a big thing for me. Prison reform and like economic reforms. I'm all for most things that are progressive in nature, but those ones, it's in it of itself. Also, break up big tech.
Mm-hmm.
Break up big tech, and I think that tech should not have to all be stuck in like Silicon Valley. Like, there's no reason why like you can't put all these servers in all these other small towns. Like, literally, like Instagram.
Warren's talking about that.
Instagram.
She's the only one talking about that.
Instagram can be in San Francisco, but WhatsApp needs to go be in Topeka, Kansas, because like there's no point. Like, why are all these people here? Go Skype. Go fucking Skype. Like the same way that you're talking about, like you can go Skype, but all these businesses are multi-million, billion-dollar industries. Go put this money everywhere because there's nothing out there except for the fact that I really think that a lot of like the tech community is inclusive and they all just want to sit here and be in San Francisco.
They just want to be
like,
on the coast, yeah.
No, it's not even about the coast. They want to be in San Francisco because it's like that's where I'm accepted.
Oh.
And the social justice warriors think that they have like their own little safe haven. So it doesn't matter that the people who live there for generations are all getting pushed out because like the tech industry is there.
Well, where do you stand on reparations?
I think that we should have them.
Hell yeah.
I agree.
Vote for reparations 2020 presidential election.
Read Ta-Nehisi Coates, The Case for Reparations on The Atlantic. It's dope.
Okay. And with that, we are actually at the end of our show. So I want to just thank my guest today. I got my Yeah. I got King Dice. I got Tanjint Wiggy. I got 2 members of the Juice Box in that house.
Juicebox.com.
Yep.
That's JOOSEBOXX.com and KingDiceSays.com. That's my website.
WestCoastAvengers.com. Juicebox has 2 O's in it.
As always, you should already know my name by now. If not, it's actually only the 2nd episode. So you know who this is. You already know who this is.
What it is.
You already know what it is. You know we about to get in the mic right now. Super hot fire. I'm about to end this man's career. My name's Calligraphy. Shout out to Productive Culture. If you guys are interested in getting a podcast done by Productive Culture, that means that you probably live in the Inland Empire, Greater Los Angeles area. Be sure to hit up Productive Culture and hit them up. Tell them that After Hours Center sent you. Tell them that After Hours sent you, and you're going to get your first podcast for free. My name's Calligraphy. Thank you for joining us in After Hours.